understand how the HTML boilerplate works and what each line does in it, it's time to move into the body section and start giving our website some content. Because at the moment, our website is looking a little bit plain. So if we have a look at John Kleinberg's website, the first thing that we want right at the top here is a level 1 heading that says our name. So let's head back into Atom, and as a challenge to you, add a level 1 heading inside the body section of your website that contains your name.
Này nó bắt vào lại là các bạn học sạch được rồi.
Vừa lờ bay vừa làm vừa thực hành à? Vừa xem vừa thực hành à?
Cái thằng kia nó ấy là rồi mà không cho thằng Đức nó có thực hành mà.
Rồi xem xong hết đi rồi, thằng nào thực hành của thằng đó.
Về
cái này về tự thực hành được này, cũng dễ mà.
So this one's easy, and it's made even easier using the autocomplete features inside Atom. All I have to write in order to create an H1 tag, which is what's needed to create a level 1 heading, is I just have to write H1, and it makes a suggestion asking me, are you looking for heading level 1? And now if I hit enter or if I hit tab, I get the H1 tag inserted automatically, opened and closed for me, and my cursor gets moved right in between exactly the place where I would need to start typing. So now if I hit save and I head back over to my personal site, and remember, if you close down this tab, you can always go into your Finder or your Explorer to open it back up again, or you can select the full file path from Atom as well and paste it into here. Now if I hit enter, you can see my H1, my level 1 heading gets shown up here, just like John Kleinberg's, and we're ready to move on to the next thing. Now we want to have a line that shows our title, so who it is that we are. Let's head back to Atom, and firstly I'm going to get rid of this little heart because it doesn't look very professional, and I'm going to add another HTML element under the H1. And this is a good point to talk about how to keep your HTML file neat and tidy. Now, most programmers are very serious about how to indent and structure their HTML files. And the reason for it is because having these indents makes it easy for us to see at a glance which tags are inside other ones. So for example, if we look at the top level here, we've got the HTML tag, and because both the head and the body tags are indented inside these HTML tags, it shows us at a glance that the head is inside the HTML element, and as is the body. But the body and the head, they're at the same hierarchical level. They're not inside of each other at all. And this is a good structure for us to be able to see at a glance what's happening in our code. And also when other programmers look at our code, because we're used to working with the same structure, it's easy to be able to understand what's going on at a glance. So you can see that there's one part of our code that breaks this rule, and that's this line here. Our H1 is contained in
Ủa, tự nhiên bị đơ này. Tao bị lag rồi. Ê, ê, ê. Alo.
code file all of the indents for you, and to make everything look neat and starts getting messy, either learn the shortcut or go through it in the menu and reorganize your code file. It'll make it much easier on the eyes and much easier to read. So now I want to add my title under my H1 tag. And for this, I'm going to use the P tag, which is a paragraph tag. And the P tag formats text into a paragraph. So they get a new line and the text inside gets grouped together into the same paragraph. So let's add my title here. And now let's see what our changes look like. So remember again, Command S or Control S to save, and head back over to our site and Command R or Control R to refresh, or click this button to refresh. And there we go, there's our brand new paragraph showing up. Now if we look at John Kleinberg's, you can see that his title is italicized and ours is not. So how can we make ours italicized as well? Well, this is where our lessons, our documentation is going to come in handy. Let's go ahead and go to Google and see if you can find out how to italicize your text using HTML. So let's write italicize HTML MDN and let's hit enter. And you can see that there's actually two tags that come up here, and the first one that comes up is this one. So let's have a look at it first. Now this is the EM, or the emphasis element, and it marks text that has a stress emphasis. Now it looks like this in practice, and the result is that it makes it look italicized. Now you might have noticed back here we also had the I element, or the I tag, and it does the same thing visually. It also makes the text that's in between the I tags italicized. But there's a little bit of a difference here, and the difference is quite subtle. The emphasis tag tells the browser the words that are enclosed between it should be stressed or should be emphasized, but the I tag only italicizes the text, so it only styles the text to make it slanted, and it doesn't confer any of that emphasis. And for this reason, it's good practice to always use emphasis instead of italic, because it conveys more information and it isn't just about the style. Remember, when we're writing HTML code, we're more concerned about structuring our text rather than caring about how it looks or how
I
it...
với EM khác nhau nhỉ mua?
M với I cả hai đều làm cho chữ nghiêng, nhưng mà M làm cho chữ nghiêng để biểu thị cái sự nhấn mạnh, còn I thì là chỉ làm để cho đẹp thôi.
Ok.
it appears. Now, a similar pair is the B tag or the bold tag. And this is equivalent to the I tag. It makes any text that's in between bolded, like so. But instead,
Tao gan.
Alo. Alo. Đức sao ơi?
Chịu.
what you should be using is the strong tag. And that's because the strong tag, again, confers meaning. It says that this text has strong importance, and therefore
Ủa thằng Đức đã
it's
bảo
displayed
dừng
in bold,
Châu.
rather than merely
Tiếp rồi. Tao bảo tiếp rồi mà.
saying that this should be styled so that it's darker than the rest of the text. And if you're interested, you can have a read between bold and strong, as well as emphasis is strong, as well as emphasis in italic. It makes for some interesting reading and gives you a bit more background information on the difference between these two tags. But whenever you're looking to make something bold in your website, you should probably be using the strong tag. And whenever you want to make something italicized, you should be using the emphasis tag. So let's go ahead and make our paragraph, this title, italicized or emphasized like so. If you remember, all we have to do is just to enclose it inside the EM tag. Now you can do that for the entire length of the text, or you can simply apply it to just a section of the text. So for example, if I wanted to make the part where it says the App Brewery bolded, then I can simply add a strong tag and have the App Brewery, not including the full stop, inside this strong tag. And now if I hit save and go ahead and refresh, then you can see that the entire paragraph is emphasized, and the app
Sao đây?
Đợi tí, đợi đi. Rồi vào.
Nó tạo room riêng.
Ok ok.
is bolded. So we've done a little bit of formatting for
Vào đi, vào đi.
Vào hết rồi mà.
our website. Now let's move on to the next part. We're going to add a little bio here, and that again is going to be inside a paragraph element, and it just tells anybody who's visiting our personal site who we are and what we're all about. So once you're ready, go ahead and figure out where you should add this and complete the challenge. Okay, so that wasn't so hard. All we have to do is just to indent so we're in the right position, we're inside the body tag, and we're going to create a new paragraph element. So this is going to be on a new line from this paragraph. They're going to be separate paragraphs. And here I'm going to write, I am an iOS and web developer. I love coffee and brew my own beers. Let's save and check it out here. All right, looks pretty good. And we're getting pretty far already. So obviously you can put as much or as little as you want here and design your website however you want it to look. Now the next thing I want to add is this horizontal line, and we've done that previously. So you can go ahead and add that into your code file as a challenge. All right, so do you remember how to do that? Well, all we need to do is we're still staying inside the body because we're creating the content for our website. And all we need to do is just to create a horizontal rule. So I'm going to use my good friend AutoSuggest, and I'm going to write HR and hit enter to insert a new horizontal rule. And now it's looking pretty similar to what we've got here. Now the last thing I want to add is a subtitle where I'm going to list all the books and courses that I'm teaching. Go ahead and add a level 3 heading to your website underneath the horizontal rule and call it books and teaching, or if you don't have any books and teaching, you can simply call it education and list all the schools that you've attended. All right, underneath the horizontal rule, I'm going to add an H3, so level 3 heading, and this is going to be the books and teaching. Alright, so we've already got most of our personal site coded up. In the next lesson, we're going to be diving into HTML lists and how we can create these bullet points as well as numbered points and add it to our website. So all of that and more, I will see you on the next lesson. Alright, so in the last lesson, we created the start of our beautiful personal website and we're modeling off John Kleinberg's homepage. So the next step that we want to achieve is this. How do we put in a bullet list into our website so that we can list maybe the books and courses that we're teaching in my case, or it could be your education background, which schools you attended, what degrees you attained, what courses you've completed, etc. So that's the next challenge. If you want, you can pause the video here and try to work it out yourself using MDN and Google search. Alternatively, you can follow along with me and we're going to go through the same process. So we're looking for a bullet list, maybe, and it's going to be in HTML. That's the language we want to write it in. And I'm going to use MDN as my documentation source. So if you hit enter, you can see that the first one that comes up is the UL element, and that's exactly what we want. UL stands for unordered list. So essentially a bullet point list. Now, ordered list would be something that has, A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3. But in our case, this is exactly what we want. And you can see that this is a simple example which will render like so, where the UL tag encloses all the parts that will be included in the bullet list, and the LI tag, or the list item tag, encloses each and every bullet point. Alternatively, you have a slightly more complex, more nested unordered list, and that looks more like this. So let's go ahead and add this to our code. So we've got this H3, that is the subtitle for the books and courses that we're teaching. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new UL, unordered list, and a new list item. And I'll add something like the complete iOS app development bootcamp. And then I'll go ahead and add another one, the complete and if we again hit save and check it out, you can see that they are there as an unordered list or as bullet points. Alright, cool. So the next thing that I want to add is outside of the unordered list, I'm going to add another H3, and this is going to have the subtitle of, let's say, my hobbies. And here I want to have an ordered list that's 1, 2, 3, and it's going to list some of my hobbies. So can you try and use MDN as well as search to figure out how to do that and then list your hobbies in that ordered list? Alright, so let's walk through it together. If we have a look at unordered list, if you scroll to the bottom, there's usually a part where it says see also on MDN, and this tells you these related HTML elements, which are list items and the ordered list, the OL. So let's click on that and we can see how this works. This is a simple example of an ordered list, and you've got the first, second, and third item as list items. So the format is exactly the same as the unordered or the bullet list, apart from the fact that this time replacing UL with OL. And similarly, you can nest these lists. You can nest a ordered list inside an unordered list, and also vice versa. And there's a whole bunch of modifications that you can have with your ordered list, for example, using Roman numerals instead of using numbers. And let's go ahead and put it into practice on our website. So I'm going to list a whole bunch of hobbies under a ordered list. And the first list item is going to be, let's say, beer brewing. And the next one will be martial arts. And the last one can be Motorcycles. There we go. Cool. So those are my hobbies, and they're included under an ordered list inside list items. And if we go ahead and hit save and then hit refresh, you can see that we've got our ordered list and our unordered list inside our homepage. Alright, cool. So this lesson was all about HTML lists. If you're interested, you can have a look at some of these other types of lists, such as the ordered lists which start at a particular number, or the lists that use Roman numerals, and you can mess around with that code inside your playbook or inside your website. In the next lesson, we're going to be covering the image element, and we're going to be brightening up our website with some pictures. So for all of that and more, I'll see you on the next lesson. Alright, so in the last lesson, we looked at how to use HTML lists that were ordered as well as unordered. In this lesson, I want to talk about the image element and how we can incorporate images into our website. So the image tag is again a self-closing tag, so it doesn't need to be closed. But for the image element, just providing an image tag isn't enough. You also need to specify the source, and that's the source of the image that will be displayed. That can either be a URL, so it can fetch it from the internet, or it can be a local image that's included in the same directory as your website. So we're going to look at both types. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going
À,
Có phải là lấy từ trên mạng hoặc là từ trong cùng một cái file gốc không? Với cái của mình.
cái file với lại cái web của mình làm.
Là kiểu cái cùng với cái index.html đúng không?
Ê, nghe lại cái vừa rồi đi, tao nãy giờ tao không nghe rõ.
Ê, nhưng mà từ đó hỏi này, cái src là viết tắt của gì đấy? Cho dễ nhớ.
Source.
Source nguồn này, cái nguồn này. Biết rồi, hiểu.
So we're going to look at both types. Going to look for an image of myself online, and let's have a look to see if there's any images that are actually me. Oh, there we go. So I've already found one. So this comes from my
Bà
Twitter,
này xinh phết.
and you can also probably go to your own Twitter or your Facebook, and you can right click on the image and simply copy the image address. Now if I paste it here, you can see the whole URL of where that image is located, and if I hit enter, my browser will fetch that image from that location. But now if I copy this image address or image source and I add it to my website as a HTML element, so just above my H1, so just above my name here, I want my image to show up. So I'm going to use the image tag, and the source, I'm just going to paste in that URL that I got from earlier on. Now, the next attribute here that comes up automatically is the alt, or the alternative text. And this is a case for, say if a browser can't render the image, then it will simply display an alternative text to the user to describe what that image was about. So I'll just put the alt text as Angela.
Chỗ này là sao?
Khi mà mày mạng yếu rồi mày load cái ảnh mà thấy nó không load được, mà ở trên góc của cái ảnh đây có chữ gì ấy thì nó là cái này.
Profile picture. Now, if you're interested in search engine optimization and getting your website
Cái này search engine optimization này, cái mà
Cái bữa tao nói.
ranking for certain keywords, this is something that Google looks at to try and figure out what your web page is about. So if you're making a web page that's about burrito recipes, and you add an alt text that says finished burrito product image 1, then it helps Google to index and figure out that maybe your web page is related when somebody is searching for burrito recipes. Alright, so let's hit save and let's refresh and check it out. And I've now incorporated my first image onto my personal website. So you can either look around for an image of yourself on Facebook or Twitter or anywhere that would host it. Alternatively, if you can't find any images of yourself on the web, which is probably a good thing, you can also create an account on Photobucket and upload your own picture in order to get a URL. And after you do so, you can simply click on the image and right-click to copy the image address
Cái trang này
and
là
paste
đăng
it
ảnh miễn
into
phí
your
à?
source between the quotation
Okay.
marks. It will work exactly the same. There we go. Angela is now a box of biscuits. Great. Now, when my browser looks through this file to see how it should load it up and display it, when it comes across this image tag, it has to go and ping the servers of Twitter to try and obtain this image. And if it gets permission to download this image, then it will grab that image and display it over here. So currently, my image is hosted on Twitter's servers, and my browser has to download it from there in order to display it inside my web page. Now, what if Twitter goes down? What if they die? What if nobody wants to send tweets anymore? Well, then their server is going to be shut down, and my image will no longer be available for download, and you will instead end up or something that looks a little bit like this. And you might have come across it in the past when you've been loading up websites. It means that the image is no longer available or is no longer hosted.
Thì cái alternative text là nó sẽ hiện ra trên đây này.
At the address that's specified.
Cái dòng
Cái miêu tả đấy. Cái dòng đằng sau cái source.
In the source. So, in order to remove our reliance on Twitter, we can also put an image into our folder HTML personal site and refer to it inside our source. So, let's go ahead and do that. Now, if I go onto my desktop inside web development, inside the folder HTML personal site, I can drag and drop or paste an image of me into this folder. And now my index.html and my picture called angela.png is in the same folder, and I can refer to it inside my code. So instead of using
Và không cần phải cùng một thư mục đâu. Ví dụ bây giờ mình mà muốn cho nó gọn hơn này thì tạo một cái thư mục riêng gọi là image các thứ, xong tôi ép vào. Chỉ cần dẫn đúng cái đường ấy ra được.
cái này giống như là
a web address as the
Hả?
giống bên LaTeX tao làm
Thì LaTeX cũng là viết HTML mà.
source of my image, I can simply refer to the file name because they are at the same level. So index and HTML and angela.png are at the same hierarchical level. They're both inside my site. Now, if I had an images folder and I put my image into there, then I would have to add a path to get there. So it would be something like this.
Hả?
tôi hắn lấy giải thích luôn rồi. Tao định hỏi là
Both ways work, and you can do it either way you like. And now, if you hit save and you go to my site, you'll notice this image change from square, which is what it got from Twitter, to circular, which is what it got from my local file. Now, in my case, I cropped my image to a circle using Photoshop. But if you wanted to create your own circular image, you can use a tool like crop-circle.imageonline.co. And here you'll be able to upload an image and crop the part of the image that you're interested and get it as a circle and be able to download it to use it in your website. And there we go. We've managed to brighten up our homepage by adding an image of ourselves to the top of it using the image tag, and we've started to look at these HTML attributes. And you can see that every single HTML element in the MDN reference also has a section on attributes. And we're really only touching the surface here because there's other attributes that you can add to the image element or most other elements that you decide to use. And we're going to be looking at these attributes as we come across them for different HTML elements. Now, in the next lesson, we're going to be looking at anchor tags and how we can start adding links into our website and how we can create new pages that can be linked to from our homepage. So for all of that and more, I'll see you on the next lesson. Now, if we compare our current site against John Kleinberg's, the only major difference that you will see now is that his has a whole bunch of hyperlinks interspersed in the homepage, whereas ours is completely devoid of any hyperlinks. If we think back to what HTML stands for, we've talked about the markup language part already, but we haven't yet talked about the hypertext part of HTML. So hypertext is basically just a bunch of text documents that can be linked together using these hyperlinks. So when you click on one of them, it takes you to a different text document, and then you click on a link there and it takes you to another different text document. And that's where the HT part of HTML comes from. And in fact, if you're interested, there is even a game called the Wiki Game, where you have a starting Wikipedia article and a goal Wikipedia article, and you have to click through the links on Wikipedia to try and navigate to the goal article. And it's basically an association game that's played using hyperlinks. Now, what are these links made of? If you have a look at each and every one of these links, if you right-click on it and click Inspect, you know that you can bring up the Google Chrome developer tools. And if we have a look, you can see that it's actually pointing towards a tag with a hyperlink reference to the destination that this link is going to take you to. And before the A tag gets closed, that's the link text. So in this case, it's the word computer science that gets underlined. And when you click on it, it takes you to cs.cornell.edu. Let's go ahead and implement this for our website. So there's many places where maybe you'd want to direct people away. So maybe I can link them to the App Brewery's website here. Or I could show them examples of me brewing beer or me riding motorcycles. Let's go ahead and try that in code. So the first place that I want to add a link to is this part where it says the App Brewery. So I'm going to put an A tag or an anchor tag just in front and close the A tag just behind. And if you want to have a look at the structure of the anchor tag, then as you remember, you can always go to the MDN web docs and you can read all about the anchor element and all of its attributes. Now, the main attribute that we're going to be concerned with is the href. And this is a URL that the hyperlink is going to point to, or the destination of that hyperlink. In my case, the destination is going to be appbrewery.co. And if I just copy that, then I can head over here and add an A tag or an anchor tag just before where it says the App Brewery. And this is what the autofill is going to write for me. So let's have a look at the structure in a bit more detail.
A là đưa link vào ấy.
Ok.
Ví dụ như là A này, xong rồi cái href này là cái link này.
Rồi.
Cái hello này, cái chữ hello này nó sẽ thành màu xanh.
Kiểu cái tên hiển thị.
As with the other HTML elements we've seen, the anchor tag has the A as the element name. And then the most important attribute that you're going to find yourself using is the href. And this is set to equal the link destination. So where are you going to take your user when they click on this link? And the anchor tag is not a self-closing tag. So it has a closing tag at the end. And between the open tag and the closing tag is our link text. So that's the bit of text that's going to be underlined and highlighted in blue so that the user knows that when they click on this word, this is going to take them to that link. So in our case, our href is going to be this URL, and between the open anchor tag and the closing anchor tag, we're going to put the link text, so the bit of text that's going to be underlined. And in my case, I'm just going to cut this phrase here and put it inside the anchor tag. So now you can see there's actually two sets of HTML elements that enclose this line of text. It is simultaneously going to be strong, i.e. bolded, and it's also going to act as a link to the appbrewery.co website. So if we hit save and let's go back over here and hit refresh, you can see that this has now been underlined and it's highlighted in a different color. Now, by convention, the highlight is going to be blue if it's a link that we've never clicked on, and it's going to be purple if we have clicked on it in the past. And just to confirm, if we click on it, it takes us to appbrewery.co. Brilliant. So that's working as expected. Now, why don't you go ahead and add some links to your hobbies? So, you know how they say in interviews you should always prove that you've done what you say you've done? Go ahead and add some links, maybe to images on the internet or to YouTube videos, anything that you like. And it doesn't have to be in your hobbies, it could be in your books and teaching or education or any part of your website, basically. So go ahead and pause the video and add some more links. So adding links to the ordered list or the unordered list is exactly the same as what we've done up here. So I'm going to go ahead and add an anchor tag to beer brewing. So I'm going to hit enter to create my anchor tag. I'm going to put the words beer brewing in between my anchor tag so that will act as the link text. And my href is going to be a YouTube video that I've got where I show people my beer brewing. So let's go ahead and copy that and paste it into here. And then I'm going to add another anchor tag here just to fill up the motorcycle part. All right, so now I've added two links, one for beer brewing and one for the word motorcycles, both inside my ordered list. So if we hit save and we hit refresh, then you'll see we've now got two links and they're blue because we've never clicked on it before. So if I hold down the command button on my keyboard or control on Windows and click on each of these links, then they'll open up in new tabs and we can have a look at my evidence that I have indeed done some beer brewing or motorcycling. Now that we've seen how to create some
Sao hồi nãy ấn là hiện ở trên tab đây luôn nhưng mà ấn cái hai dưới lại hiện tab khác.
Bảo
Một
là
control còn gì?
control còn gì?
anchor tags that point to links on the internet. What if I wanted to create a separate page for the My Hobbies section and I wanted to create a link that linked to my own page? Let's head back into Atom, and inside this HTML personal site folder where we've got our index.html, so this file, I'm going to right click and I'm going to click new file. And the new file is going to be called hobbies.html, and it's going to be created inside the same folder as index. So you can see they're at the same hierarchical level. Now for hobbies HTML, I'm first going to add the HTML boilerplate code, and the title is going to be My Hobbies. In the body, I'm just going to copy all of this and I'm going to hit Command X or Control X to cut, and then I'm going to paste it over here. So now if I hit save for hobbies and I go back to the index.html and I create a new anchor tag, and it's going to have the link text of My Hobbies, and the href is going to be the file name. So in this case it will be hobbies.html. Now if I hit save and I go back to my website, hit refresh, that ordered list has disappeared and is now replaced by this hyperlink. And if I click on it, it takes me to this brand new page that I've created called My Hobbies. So now you can see how you can really easily start to create multiple pages of your website. And as long as you've got it inside the same folder, or you can specify a path for the browser to get to it, then you can start linking up your homepage with all of these different satellite pages, and you start to build up a website rather than just a web page. As a challenge, I want you to create another page that is going to contain your contact details. So how do you get in touch? So say if somebody came across your personal site and they wanted to hire you or they wanted to message you. Now, it's probably quite cluttering to have it on the home page. So we want to create another link down here that says contact me, and it's going to link to another page just like my hobbies, but it's going to contain maybe your address, maybe your email, maybe your telephone, whatever you're comfortable with giving to the internet. Go ahead, pause the video and give it a go. Alright, so it's going to be exactly the same as what we did for my hobbies. So we're going to go to our HTML personal site folder. We're going to right click on it. We're going to create a new file, and this is going to be called contactme.html. And here we're going to again start with the HTML boilerplate, and the title is going to be contact me. And in the body, we're going to have an H1, that's my contact details. And then below that, maybe a paragraph, that's going to be my fictional address. And maybe another one, that's going to be some fictional number, telephone number to contact me with. And then it will be my email at gmail.com. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and hit save. Go back to index.html and add another anchor tag where we link to this page called contact-me.html. And the link text will just be contact me. And we're going to hit save and refresh. And now we can click on here to this brand new page. Alright, so today's lesson was all about the anchor tag, and be sure to check out the anchor tag reference on MDN Web Docs, and there's a whole bunch of other attributes that you can read about, and there's really good examples that can show you some of the other functionality that you can have by simply including the anchor tag. So that's all from me for today. I will see you on the next lesson. Well done for completing the first module. You've already come so far just by taking the first step. Because you know that
Cái này là xong ấy một rồi, xong phần 1, xong phần hả? Ờ.